Look, conflict in the classroom, it's going to happen. A disagreement, a misunderstanding, it's just part of the deal. But the thing that really defines your classroom culture, it isn't the conflict itself. It's what you do in those moments after. So today, we're going to talk all about turning those ruptures into real opportunities for repair. I mean, you know that feeling, right? The air just gets thick, all the students go quiet, and that great positive learning energy you had, it just evaporates. It's a feeling every single educator has had, and that lingering tension, it can seriously get in the way of everything we're trying to do. And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head. We often default to traditional punishments, but they fall flat because they don't get to the root of the problem, a damaged bond. You see, you can try to manage a behavior, but there's no way you can force trust. Okay, so let's dig into that. Because here's the thing. A lot of what we call classroom management problems, they're actually relationship problems in disguise. And when that trust is broken, the very foundation of your classroom starts to get shaky. You see, once that trust is gone, it's like this downward spiral starts. The student feels misunderstood, so they might shut down or start acting out. Then the teacher, who is totally stressed out, might get more reactive. Well, that just pushes the student even further away. And pretty soon, even your best lessons aren't landing because that essential connection, that bond, is just gone. So here's the main takeaway, and it is so important to get this. Mending these bonds isn't some extra thing you do when you have time. This is the work. It's the fundamental maintenance you have to do to keep the whole engine of learning running. All right, so where do we even begin? Well, the first step is kind of counterintuitive, but it is absolutely critical. You do nothing. Or, well, you don't try to solve anything until emotions have calmed down. We have to manage that fight or flight response first. So here's what's going on in our heads. When stress is high, our primitive reptile brain takes the wheel. It's all about survival, not logic, not empathy. And you just cannot have a productive, constructive talk when you're in that state. You have to wait for the calm, logical, thinking brain to get back in the driver's seat. So how do you actually do that? It's all about hitting the pause button. And the most important thing is for you, the adult, to model that calm. Take a few deep breaths, offer the student a quick break, maybe a walk to the water fountain. Just agree to talk about it later. Your cool, regulated response is what creates the safety needed for a real conversation to happen down the line. Okay, so now for the really crucial part, the actual repair conversation. Once everyone's calm, you need a plan. And this is not about giving a lecture. This is all about reconnecting. So here's a simple 4-step guide you can use. First, find a private moment. Just start by acknowledging the feeling in the room. Something like, hey, I feel like things have been a little off between us. Then, and this is the key, just listen. Ask them, how did you feel about what happened? Next, own your part of it. I know the way I handled that wasn't working. And finally, if it's called for, offer a specific, sincere apology. And that brings me to this quote, because it really gets at the incredible power of just listening. A lot of the time, a student isn't looking for you to agree with them. They just want to feel seen and heard. That simple act of listening without jumping in to judge can diffuse almost all of the tension. It's huge. And hey, let's talk about apologizing for a second. Saying, I'm sorry I raised my voice does not mean the student's behavior was okay. It means you're modeling what accountability looks like. You're showing them that adults make mistakes, and more importantly, that adults know how to fix them. That integrity is what rebuilds the bridge of trust. All right, so once you've reconnected and the tension is gone, it's time to shift from talking about the past to planning for the future. The goal now is to work together to create a plan so this doesn't keep happening. This question right here is the game changer. It completely shifts the dynamic. You're no longer the authority figure just laying down the law. You're a team member asking for their input. You're basically saying to the student, your voice matters in solving this. And here's what that might actually look like in practice. Notice it's a two-way street. It's not just about what the student is going to do. The teacher commits to something and the student commits to something. Maybe you agree to a quiet, nonverbal signal, and they agree to try a new coping strategy. It's a total win-win because both of you have ownership over the solution. And as you're wrapping this whole conversation up, please remember this. It's absolutely crucial. You have to make it crystal clear. I was upset by your behavior, but I still value you as a person. This protects the student's dignity and lets them know that one mess up hasn't permanently wrecked your view of them.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a minute. This kind of one-on-one repair talk is part of a much bigger philosophy, one that can literally transform your whole classroom. We're talking about restorative practices.
At its heart, it's a really simple but powerful shift in how we think. Instead of just asking, what rule was broken and what's the punishment, we start asking, okay, what harm was done here and how can we work to repair it? Just look at this comparison. It makes the difference so clear. The old punitive approach is all about blame, who's at fault. But the restorative approach is about understanding, about empathy, and about real accountability. It moves discipline from being something you do to a student to something you do with them. And that right there, that's the ultimate payoff. When you start handling conflict this way, it stops being just another disruption. It becomes a teachable moment, a real-world lesson in some of the most important life skills anyone can learn. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of the key takeaways here. First, always cool down before you talk. Make it a priority to listen way more than you speak. Model accountability and own your part. Then, problem solve together like a team. Shift your focus from punishment to repair. And maybe, most of all, be patient. Trust isn't built overnight. It grows in all those small, consistent moments. And just remember, all of this can start with just one. Fixing one frayed relationship can change the entire feeling of your classroom. It creates this ripple effect of trust and respect that benefits everyone. Because at the end of the day, that's the whole goal, isn't it? It's not about trying to avoid conflict. That's impossible. It's about learning how to transform it, to take a moment of disconnection and use it to build a stronger, more real relationship. So I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on. Who is that one student? Who is one student you could have a quiet check-in with tomorrow? What small step can you take to begin that process of repair?